the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AVWeek, episode 19, recorded December 9th, 2011. Horse hockey.
Ready.
AVWeek.
Performing. Scan.
Week.
Online.
This is AVWeek. AVWeek. It's time for AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual information, news, and commentary. I'm your host, Tim Albright. With us this week is Kevin Iselli. Kevin is the Senior Curriculum Developer for Crestron. Hello, sir.
How are you?
I am well. We have a newbie this week. His name is Chris Tatton. Chris is a Senior Systems Programmer for HB Communications. Welcome, Chris.
Howdy.
Also with us this week is George Tucker. George is the Engineering Coordinator for World Stage in New York.
That is right. Hello, everybody.
Hello. And with me in studio is Michael Drainer. Michael is the System Manager Sound AV for Tech Electronics in St. Louis, Missouri.
It is a pleasure to be back, folks.
This week on AV Week, we're going to be talking about Utz Baldwin being out at CEDIA, AVI-SPL being named the Integrator of the Year. The New York Times Lab has given us the mirror from the movie Total Recall. But first, I would like to congratulate Andrew Edwards and Tim Schneibel and all the gang at Extron Electronics for landing a fine employee in Albert Pujols. They only paid $250 million for him. Oh, wait a minute. There's a baseball team in Anaheim. Oh, okay. I get it. Never mind.
Which you get much more entertainment out of.
That was a nice softball. This week, CE Pro writes
playing hardball.
Yeah, other places write, including a press release from CEDIA. Utz Baldwin is no longer the CEO for CEDIA. Baldwin's appointment 3 years ago was a first. They had never had a CEO at CEDIA. According to the CEDIA chairman, Randy Stearns, he says, CEDIA would like to thank Utz for his contributions as CEO, president, and volunteer, in addition to his strategic vision of the association's future. CEDIA wishes Utz the greatest success in his future endeavors. You guys can call me a jaded journalist or pessimistic or whatever, but me reading the lines through there. George, we'll start with you. Does this sound like this was an amicable separation, or does this sound like, hey, Utz, thanks for your time, don't let the door hit you on the way out?
Yeah, I think it kind of sounds very much like he's going to spend more time with his family kind of conversation. You know what? I think he did a lot of really proactive things, and he had a vision that evidently was not completely agreed with by the rest of the board. But I have to say, I think the main reason he's probably at is because everyone's continued to confuse him with Gary Kay.
Oh,
those two look like two peas in a pod, man. I was doing it today, going. I was actually bringing the pictures together on my computer, going, no, they're not the same Well, maybe.
Camera 1, camera 2. Have you ever seen them together?
You haven't. It's best
I know, and I looked for a picture of the two of them. I did my search.
It's like Diana Ross and Michael Jackson from the 80s. Yeah. Chris, give me your 2 cents. All of us here, none of us here are really residentials, but Chris, go ahead and give me your 2 cents of your sense of kind of what this means for CEDIA. And they even say in the article from CE Pro that CEDIA probably won't replace him. So is this a big deal?
Well, I mean, I work entirely in the commercial field, so I don't have a lot of interaction with CEDIA. But from reading the article, it doesn't seem like it's going to have much of a change to them. It seems more or less that it wasn't working out with Utz, where he was and what he was doing, and they just wanted to move in a different path. And really hasn't been working out for a while, so there's no real need to, promote to a CEO. Like you said, they haven't had one, for so long. Maybe they realized it just wasn't really needed.
Mr. Iselli, how big of a deal is this for CEDIA? Or for Utz?
I don't know. I can't really say that it's a really big deal for CEDIA. I mean, they are the little engine that tries constantly. So I think if they keep their eyes on the prize and keep going forward,
they might make it.
Because I know they are trying to restructure.
I think I can.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely a very big undertaking that they're doing, and with the individuals they work with, it's nothing short of astounding what they've managed to accomplish so far. So is it going to affect them? Probably.
I have a question about that, and none of the articles that I could find showed this. Why did they think they needed a CEO to begin with?
Yeah, I didn't see that either. That was the other thing. Is that 3 years ago they said, hey, let's have a CEO and a president, and now they don't. So it just in my sense, and Michael, you can chime on here. I got the sense that this was a nice experiment that kind of failed.
That's what it seems like from the outside looking in. I look at trade organizations like this, and not that I'm going to draw a parallel between CEDIA and Infocom, but I think that's what's trying to do is kind of model CEDIA after the Infocom model and become more of a lobbyist industry representation group. And I don't know that that's 100% the vision of CEDIA based on the information I was reading. I saw a lot more stuff about really trying to drive revenue and drive business and things like that between manufacturers and dealers. And, you take the Infocom approach, and it's all about education. It's promoting the industry. It's lobbying for to the federal government and legislators to positively impact the AV industry. I don't know that CEDIA really follows those same tenets. I can't say that for certainty, but just based on the information I saw and that was available to me.
Yeah. All right, from the world of digital signage, over the last couple of years, Christie Microtiles, and in a few years ago, actually it was 2 years ago, Christie Microtiles came out to great fanfare. They've gotten 18 industry awards. Kevin, we'll start with you. My question is Christie Microtiles just a great product, a great digital signage product, or is this kind of a revolution in digital signage because you can stack them, you can do pretty much darn near whatever the heck you want to with the signal?
Yeah, I think that's probably the more impressive part about it. I mean, we saw this thing at Infocom, back when we were in Vegas a number of years ago. They were across from our GUI gallery, and the fact that they could, angle the tiles, but they basically just lock together with a little, clamp locking system, and you kind of daisy chain them all through a loop. And I mean, they're fantastic. It's a low resolution onto the tile itself, but when you start to build this thing, it becomes just this, scalable display that you can put into shape, form, whatever you want. And now they actually have it. This past Infocom, they were showing it with their I'm sorry, I'm going to forget the name of the company that does the IR capture. So now you can actually use this whole surface that you build completely as a touch interface.
Chris,
so it's very cool to see them in as far as image quality, they're fantastic. Their color blending, that they have a little setup thing that you do where they do all color matching from all the cubes. So you get this really cool, seamless kind of image with a very small bezel. So you don't have this big 5 millimeter differential between the cubes. They're real tight. It's a great product.
Now, it's also not a cheap product. And so I guess my thinking here, and Chris, will ask you, in putting these out into the wild, outside of a trade show, does a 4,000? I think the last time I heard they were about $4,000 a cube. The video processor aside, is that within the price range of most digital signages where they could take market share away, or is that still
Tim, sorry to interrupt before Chris says something. I hear what you're saying, but think about it this way. When we started with Barco and some of the other folks that made LED tiles, the 18-inch square tiles, you're talking $17,000 a tile.
Okay.
Right? And we bought those up and down this block. This is a bargain.
Well, yes, for $4,000 it is a bargain.
Yeah. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I don't think that it necessarily competes with a lot of the digital signage stuff. I think a lot of digital signage is much smaller displays, but it's interesting for the large format stuff. I've had the opportunity to do a couple of installs with this product, and I quite frankly think it's fabulous. It really gives you a lot of versatility in the shape that you want to create, even if you wanted to create some sort of odd W shape, what have you. You can do that, and you can pretty much make it form and fit to whatever you need to. The other thing that's really great about these is that they are a lot shallower in depth than a lot of previous solutions, while still maintaining a really, really small bezel. And they are entirely serviceable from the front of the unit. So you don't have to have some sort of, narrow crawl space that you have to crawl through to get to them, or some sort of strange scaffolding behind them. You can put them someplace, and you can change out one of those tiles in the middle or any part of it entirely from the front, which I think is great for serviceability. And I think it's something that there are a lot of manufacturers out there that don't necessarily think about it when they design products. And it seems like Christie really hit the nail on the head with these.
So, Chris and Kevin, is it the flexibility that makes these so popular? Because I haven't had the opportunity to work with them directly myself.
I think it is. I mean, granted, you do, in order to really use them to their fullest, you do need some other stuff. Like maybe like a Vista Spider processor, what have you, to really use that huge resolution that you have the opportunity to create. I think by themselves, each tile is 720 by 540, so not quite HD. Actually, not HD at all. But when you add them together, you can create pretty high resolution displays that take up a lot of space that show just fabulous images. And I think the company that Kevin was mentioning before is a company called Float 4. At least that's a company that we use that did like a touch overlay on a Christie Microtile wall.
George.
Yeah, that's it.
Are you seeing the microtiles in the staging business at all? Anybody taking a look at these?
Indeed we are. We have a few that we actually just have installed in certain venues that we now use on a regular basis since we're the house guys. All of those things are true for the staging world as well. You can put them into any configuration. They're super bright, super detailed, in comparison to stuff that's come before. You can get these very projection-like images in a space that's, much, much smaller than what you would have needed in a previous iteration. They're really cool to boot, let alone. And Chris's comment that, you can access these things from the front. There are different kinds of rigging configurations, which literally you can just take the one out, replace it, calibrate it, you're done. It's really that simple, and it's made it very flexible to get these very high-powered, attractive signs in the spaces and configurations that you would have had a lot of trouble doing before.
Okay, guys, so is this a live product, or is this a permanent installation product? Primarily. Obviously, you can say both, but which one is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
The answer is yes.
I don't know. I think I don't see, personally, with all of the installations that I've seen, I don't see an incredible amount of very large format video wall systems like that. For a venue process, yes, absolutely, because like George was saying, you can, and Chris was saying, you have all kinds of mounting options, so you can truss and rig this thing and fly it, no problem. It's pretty quick. For someone who's, let's say, got a classroom, they're not going to assemble, at $4,000 a cube. They're not going to put a, 10 or 15 cube, tile system in a classroom, because you basically have bought the whole building at that point. But is it both? Yes, it very much can be both. But on the rental side and then the staging side, yeah, absolutely, it's monster.
Oh, yeah, and I agree. I don't see this going into, say, a classroom or replacing a plasma or something like that. But for large image projection or entranceways or that video wall replacement that can be moved around even, roll it in, set it up, go, move it back.
Yeah.
Or again, for the odd designs, the odd aspect ratios, you want something that's 2 tiles wide by 10 tiles tall to create this cool pillar. There's really not much out there that's going to be able to do that for you other than this product.
Yeah. Very cool. From Commercial Integrator, they have named their Integrator of the Year. Dun, dun, dun. It's AVI-SPL. We're surprised. Why are you surprised? Shocked. Why you got to be like that? Why you got to hate? You got to hate because you don't have 32 locations and $500 million. That's why you got to hate.
It's not a hate thing.
Don't hate the player.
Don't hate the player.
I don't hate the player.
game.
I don't hate the player.
Don't even hate the game, really, because the game is half the fun.
Well, the game is half the fun, but it's just one of those things that's kind of expected.
You think? Okay, if you don't know who AVI-SPL is, they merged at AVI-SPL, two companies. They merged in 2008. Expected revenues over $500 million this year. 32 locations. They've got some outside the country. 1,400 employees. All of this is this. I mean, Michael's like, this is. I was going to make some kind of political reference, but there is no easy political reference anymore. So, is this kind of like the prom queen that everybody expected to win?
That's kind of the way I took it. They really, AVI-SPL's got a lot of really cool training initiatives internally to bring their staff up to speed on what's going on, and that's highly respected and commendable. But I really didn't see anything in the article that was like, wow, these guys just. You had this really great job that blew everything away. It was completely innovative. Or, hey, we're using technology in a way that nobody else really is. They referenced some things about AV and IT, but the fact of the matter is there's a lot of integrators out there that are working in converged IT AV systems. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really see anything that was exclusive or compelling there. I'm just not surprised. Let's just put it that way. It's like they're the big dog on the block, and you kind of expect that somebody's going to nominate them as Integrator of the year, and
George,
like you said, the prom queen.
George, is this just about volume? I mean, is this the fact that they've just got so much worth of stuff going out?
Partly, I think, sure. If you read the article as well, it says that they have sort of cast a large shadow indeed over sort of a region where a lot of smaller dealers have stumbled and or gone away. So I think part of it is they're taking up what vacuum there was, they're filling it. And they've also diversified. I mean, they're not just doing big jobs. I mean, they were talking about digital signage and other things that they're doing, which seems to become, for those larger install companies, the way to make money. We've discussed this in the past, though, where digital signage is going to reach that limit, right? Where it's the same as equivocal to hanging flat panels at a high profit. It becomes so ubiquitous that you're just going to be sort of handing out the stuff and not, you maintain it to keep a little bit of profit. Although I do have my take on this. Strap in. Here we go. That, not to be Adam Curry-ish and develop a conspiracy theory, but when
please
you get
do. I like
big,
Adam.
We like it. Go
in
on.
The morning.
He's Looney Tunes, right?
I have fond memories of watching Adam Curry on MTV.
Yes, but have you watched him on the other his own podcast?
Yes, he's fabulous. He's the crackpot.
Yes. Everything is a conspiracy.
Fluoride in the
not to go
waters.
that far, but I do have always a problem, a running theme of my life, with one individual corporation having too much undue influence on the manufacturers. My curiosity is piqued as to they're doing all this work, they're named the CI, they're gobbling up or taking up the vacuum of space that has been left by companies that have gone the way of the dodo bird. How much influence are they going to have on the stuff that comes out now? And is that actually happening? And it's one of those things that I'm going to keep an eye on because, despite them doing very well and having fiscal management and fiscal responsibility, unlike Roscor, they...
You have something stuck in your throat from Chicago there.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Man. That's not even funny because Roscor is actually, they do artwork. Their installations are fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I miss those guys.
That's fine.
They really were. Yeah, they really were.
And where is the operative word here? And you could cure cancer, but if you go out of business doing it, you're out of business.
No, you can't cure cancer. It's not profitable.
Sleep gives you cancer. Remember. So I mean, at least that's my take on it. And again, I don't think they're that ominous. Maybe they are. I don't know anymore. But they. I see this one big megalith saying we are this region, and I'm going, wow, that'd be interesting. We'll fly on the wall for some of the conversations of we want it to be this.
Okay, but
only you'll buy it. Doesn't matter.
Nothing against you and Michael. Is this kind of the same hater thing about in the 90s? It was in vogue to hate Microsoft because they were the big evil corporation.
Look, I don't hate AVI-SPL. There's no hate here. There's no jealousy here. That has nothing to do with it.
I know, but George is using the word monolith for crying out loud.
Well, he is. But
that intones a certain, attitude.
But in speaking to George's comments, though, and I understand where he's talking about and having the dominance in the industry, but when you think about how big the industry really is, $500 million is not that much.
Oh, yeah, it's a drop in the bucket.
It is a drop in the bucket. When you talk about the AV manufacturer business, I mean, you take somebody like a Crestron and Extron, Sanyo, for instance. It's like Sam Malik said. Sanyo is $200 million in
just the displays.
Just the display
are
division,
million, yeah.
right? Okay, so you take that, spread that across all the manufacturers. Really, $500 million is not that much in the grand scheme of things.
So you don't think they're going to have undue influence?
I don't think they're going to have undue influence. I think they're going to get some special treatment on their pricing concessions and things like that due to their volumes, but that's going to be expected of anybody that's doing that kind of volume. Look at Best Buy for Business, for goodness sake. All right, do you think those guys are getting, are they paying the same price that I'm paying for that stuff? Heck no. They're paying what AVI-SPL or even less than AVI-SPL is for their products.
For the Epsons and the
absolutely
the
just
and
based on sheer volume, and you go to the box houses and places like that, the pricing model is going to scale. I mean, that's just all there is to it.
Chris, should all five of us get together and start a box company?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think we're organized enough.
We don't have the cap. We're certainly not organized enough. That's for sure.
But I mean, the thing I took away from this article was, it seemed a lot like AVI-SPL is the integrator of the year because they're the largest integrator of the year.
Right.
Full
Does
stop.
that mean that they're going to be the one next year then?
Well, I mean, that remains to be seen, obviously. But the question is, what exactly was the criteria for determining the integrator of the year? I mean, as was said, they didn't list anything that they did that was innovative or super creative or using technology differently. It basically the article boiled down to a business article, so to speak, not really an AV article. I mean, there is something to be said for running a good business and running a quality business, absolutely. And I commend them for being able to merge two companies which were previously, sworn competitors, and make a company that is good and profitable, because that's not easy. I have friends in the industry that were on both sides of that merger, that are extremely talented people that now work together and do very well, but in the end, what was it that made them the integrator of the year? I mean, there are a lot of other companies in other areas. I for one work work for a competitor in the Northeast region that we do a lot of business, and we do a very good job at competing with AVI-SPL in our market share, in our market region. We're not national, but that's neither here nor there.
No, I mean, you don't have to be national to compete.
Okay, so absolutely not. So I imagine that even in their home office or the home area of Tampa, that there are other companies that compete well with them, and out in other major metropolitan areas that might even be doing more innovative work that just aren't getting their name out there as much.
So here's maybe a broader question, and I'll ask you guys. Commercial integrator picked them for a reason. It may very well have been business. That may have been, hey, they sold the most product. So let's come up with our own. What's some criteria that we're going to look for in our own, AVNation Integrator of the Year? You're innovative. You're creative. You're what? You take a budget of $10 and you give them, a full Crestron digital media system with it. I don't know.
Whoa! I don't know who your rep is.
I have connections.
Yeah.
Me and Randy are like this.
Yeah. Well, actually, Chris made a good point. I mean, there wasn't really a checklist to say what were the highlights that you hit that made you.
Well, that's what I'm asking. So we're going to make our own right here, now.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, you could probably put this to the same equation of, you have a golf outing for a charity, and the guy who donated the most money just so happened to win the whole brand new set of Callaways. It was coincidental, of course.
Of course.
Yes, of course.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
But of course.
You guys have been drinking way too much Kool-Aid.
We'll have to do a whole show just on what makes an integrator the integrator of the year.
I guess that's what I'm asking. You give me something here. Take business aside. Give me somebody in Boise, Idaho, who is the most creative guy, most creative integrator. It's a house of it's a 5-person house, or it's Tech Electronics in St. Louis, who you've got more than just one location, but they're a part of a bigger organization, and AV is part of what you do, or whatever. I don't know. Chris's company, in the Northeast. What makes an integrator a good integrator?
To be honest with you, I think one of the things that you really have to focus on if you're gonna talk about creativity is the software side of integration. Product is product. I can buy DM, AVI-SPL can buy DM, smaller integrators throughout the company or throughout the country can buy DM. They can all buy product, maybe not at the same price point, but in the end, what makes a good integration when you take all of that product and you stuff it in the closet and close the door and then put the end user out there, what's in front of the end user is the software, that the integrator actually, creates to run that space, and you can take the exact same system design wise, and if you put terrible software behind it, it's not a good system. So meanwhile, you can take a system that might not look fabulous, on paper as far as the wire drawings go, but if you put really slick software in front of it that makes it a breeze to use, it's perfectly integrated into the client's workflow. I mean, that's what really I think makes a great integration project.
So everything comes down to the programmer and the graphic designer.
Well, it also depends on which side of the fence you want to talk about. Like, what makes a good integrator from a manufacturer's side of view? Right. What makes it from the end user's point of view? There's all different points of view of what makes a great integrator.
Right.
No, that's valid.
Yeah, we could debate that all day long. It would have been nice in the article for some good, solid reporting to at least have indicated, okay, what was the criteria that you used to determine this? I think that's the only thing I was looking for because, like I said, it came across as a promotion piece to me. And nothing against AVI-SPL. I've seen some of their work. I've seen some great work. I've seen some bad work. But I've seen that with all integrators. Nobody's perfect out there. But at least tell me why you're giving them that nomination. I just didn't see that in the article. So.
All right. You're listening to AV Week with Kevin Iselli from Crestron, Chris Tatton from HB Communications, Michael Drainer there from Tech Electronics, and George Tucker from World Stage. We're going to step away for a second, guys, and go and do our AV Week Job of the Week.
Hi, this is Pat Dooley from AV Jobs in the UK. Pleased to be talking to Tim today, and we have a Job of the Week, which is an education sales consultant, someone who's experienced in selling audiovisual products into the educational field in the UK. The company we're working on behalf of have a fantastic product, which is a high margin product, which schools definitely want and are definitely buying. So it's an opportunity to make some really good money. And also, if you have contacts within education, then you'll really hit the ground running. They have vacancies within the UK in the East Midlands, West Midlands, and the North, both North West and Yorkshire. If you want to apply for any of these, please give us a call on 0844 884 9150 or email pat@avjobs.co.uk or check it out on our website www.avjobs.uk. Look forward to hearing from you.
Hi, this is Marty Raymond from avjoblistings.com with this week's Job of the Week here on AV Week. This week, we're highlighting a job from Crestron out of the Seattle area. They're looking for a senior applications engineer. And the job basically is someone who will support their dealer and partner network via phone and site visits, someone who will mock up their customers' systems in an effort to reproduce and document reported issues, and assist development engineering with the testing of new software modules, develop new software and macros and modules, and provide feedback to the development engineering to help Crestron produce even better solutions and products for their customers. So Crestron's looking for someone in the Seattle area, and if you're interested in this position, please visit our website at avjoblistings.com, where you can find this job listed as well as other jobs, and you can scroll through, and when you do click on the job, at the bottom part of the page, you will notice that there's a how to apply portion, and that will give you all the instructions on applying for the particular job. And again, my name is Marty Raymond from AVJobListings.com, and you're listening to the Job of the Week on AV Week podcast.
You're listening to AV Week with Kevin Iselli from Crestron, Michael Drainer from Technical Electronics, George Tucker from World Stage, and Chris Tatton from HB Communications. From System Contractors News, Karen Mitchell writes about this brand new market, guys. It's brand new. They just discovered it. It never existed before. It's called House of Worship. That's funny.
I thought it was how.
It's how.
How do you get the business?
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I totally missed that. Really? I missed that? I did miss that. How you get the business. Okay, so how, Michael, do you get the business?
By selling analog matrix switchers.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Explain yourself, or Kevin explain himself.
For our guests, I'll let Kevin explain this in greater detail. Kevin and I were having a conversation before the show. So, Kevin.
Well, we as reading the article, it was very fascinating to go through what they were talking about as far as digital deployment and making sure that everything is ready for next generation. And then they, of course, they give a shout out to a lot of the a lot of the manufacturers that make products, and lists like the RGB Spectrum and Atlona and Pesa and all these folks, and they're showing all of their digital products. And then you get to the Crestron product, and it happens to be our analog RGB HV switcher.
But you guys don't make digital.
I thought, yeah, like as if we don't know what digital is. We invented the whole technology. Thank you, anyways. But it was kind of
your title again? Senior curriculum developer. What does that mean?
That's correct. Well, it means that 3 years ago I wrote classes to teach our integrators and end users about the whole emergence of digital technology, and it started with our digital media product line. So it's kind of hard to miss a product line that generates $120 million worth of revenue, and it didn't even show up in their article. So yeah, that's cute.
So now that we've ripped the poor author of this article, let's talk about the actual article. And here's something that's near and dear to my heart. Michael and I and Matt, our buddy Matt Scott, started another arm of AVNation called Howcast, talking about really about this very thing. Churches have a unique footprint. They have a unique use case from whether it's streaming, making CDs, making their media available, making what happens on Sundays or Saturdays, whenever their service is, available to more than just the people outside the four walls. So, George, all kidding aside, how do integrators get? I'm gonna stop that. In what process would it be possible to get the business for houses of worship?
I'm sorry, I was laughing so hard I didn't actually hear the question.
Never mind.
No, ask me.
No, I can't, because I can't say it without saying how, and I can't do that.
Without laughing.
Yeah. In what process would it be possible for someone to acquire the business of the houses of worship?
Well, I can tell you, just cutting off
Go
George for a second, what my personal experience as a former designer or consultant, the best way to get that business is to actually be a member of the parish. Because one of the jobs that I did ended up doing for a pretty sizable parish, it was an end result of, just so you guys get a background, it was 4,000 seat approximately parish auditorium, if you will. And one of the parishioners basically said that they would design the AV technology for them. And they wanted to do things like, uplink and broadcast and all that. And he said the budget would probably be somewhere in the neighborhood of $35,000.
Wow.
And Kevin, understand for a second.
How? How's he going to do that?
Hang on for a second.
I don't know how.
Understand, Kevin hasn't been designing for an actual integrator in how many years?
Oh, gosh. Coming up on 6.
Well, this is important because 6 years ago, you couldn't have probably purchased a camera for $36,000.
No. Oh, no, absolutely
Now,
not.
nowadays you can with, not all kidding aside, with other people's, with Crestron switchers or whoever else's switchers. Or if you're just doing broadcast, I am personally a big fan of NewTek. I think that NewTek provides a reasonably priced box, and it's a video truck in a box, really, for entry-level broadcast stuff. And
I would say entry-level production.
I would say broadcast, and there's a reason why. I mean, ESPN.com uses a NewTek product. Leo Laporte, one of my internet netcasting heroes, uses a NewTek product. I would call that broadcasting. Why wouldn't you?
I call it netcasting.
I'm going to hit you with something.
Well, let me just
all kidding aside, though. Go ahead. Who is it, Chris?
Let me ask the question, though, Tim. You're talking about let's say, an entry-level broadcast, and are we talking about a mobile, a truck? You're going to wheel it up, get uplink format?
You could, but here's why I call it entry-level and I call it broadcast, because they have a box that's less than $10,000. You can get full component video into from a component camera. That's why I call it broadcast. You've got lower thirds in it. You have transitions. You have the ability to stream straight from that box or spit it out to something else. Again, component. For a little bit more than $10,000, you can go SDI, which my buddy Michael is, a big fan of SDI. It's
poor Michael.
Yeah, I know he's soft in the head. So that's to me that's a broadcast quality.
But you're also missing, what about the front end? What about the DSKs? What about the broadcast switcher? What about that's not just a 12. You're looking at a single box.
In there. That's in there though. That's what I'm saying. Is the DSK is in there. Everything's in there.
Yeah, and from a one-stop shop solution, a studio in a box, the NewTek product is very hard to beat. But even the article talks about the fact that what they found in their research is that traditional switching consoles are still the preferred method. When you go to a 2 or 3 ME switcher, you can use your downstream keyers because it gives the operator the ability to work in a physical environment and physically see what's going on.
Yes,
okay?
Absolutely.
So if just getting into the business, a NewTek product is probably a good way to go. And for web applications such as ours and Twit and some of the others that are out there, ESPN.com, where you're doing a lot of streaming, you need the mobility, you need the flexibility. It's a good product for that. But you're talking about an environment where you have volunteers. They're not tech-savvy people. You need to be able to put them down in front of this switcher, and I could see the grin on your face, and I wish you guys could see him right now because he's going to come out like a shotgun here in a minute.
Well, go ahead.
Because we debate this all the time. I want to be able to set a TD down in front of a switcher and say, here's your camera buttons. All you got to do is worry about this. Do what the director tells you to do, right? You give them some training and away they go. You don't have to give them complete comprehensive systems training on how to handle your downstream keys, how to do your graphics overlays, how to handle the camera switching, which with the studio in the box, you got to be able to handle all that at one time. Where in your traditional production environment, you have different roles, different responsibilities. You got more finite sets of skills that are required from the individuals, thereby spreading out the load. So when you get into these bigger productions, I think you have to have greater infrastructure to support it. A, from a quality standpoint, B, from an efficiency standpoint.
And a bigger production, I would probably grant you because you're talking about bigger budgets. You're talking about some type of full-time staff.
But what do you classify as a big production? Because, our home church here, we do 3 camera shoots. We have a television station, right? We've got our own television channel on the local charter network, right? But I venture to say that the production quality is not up to par with what we would consider broadcast quality.
Yes.
Okay. Now, why is that?
Cameras.
Oh, boy.
George...
And the reason I'm saying that is, we use a NewTek product, right? And it's not about the product. It's a combination of product, expertise, quality of gear, quality of production, experience. All those things come into play into building a broadcast, what I consider a broadcast quality production. Now, bear in mind, my perspective is a little bit biased. I come from broadcast television. I built television stations for 6 years. I've worked in the studio environment, 3-chip Ikegami cameras, Grass Valley 3ME switchers, Encore routers, all HDSD.
Oh, see, now he's talking geek.
So what I'm saying, though, is it's a whole different level. Now, going back to what you were saying on the budget, yes, you can do a whole lot more with a whole lot less these days. I have seen some amazing quality come from $3,000, $5,000 cameras, right? People like Mythbusters using little Sony, handheld HD cameras, and they look fabulous. There's nothing wrong with that.
But Michael, you said something very important. You can do a whole lot more with a whole lot less. However, there are still some, I'll just call it primary basal functions that can't be accomplished in one box and you have to spread that out to more of your technicians and the people and the operators.
Right.
I mean, when you say that you could do a mobile, using their product, and I'm not bashing the product, it's cool. I get it. And it's $12,000. That's fine. But, ESPN still has a truck, a 50-foot or 54-foot trailer that they wheel up to a stadium to do uplink, right? And that's not even just the dish itself, but the satellite side. That's totally, something different. Those trucks are still, 1.2, 1.3 million?
Oh, easily.
On a good day,
yeah.
yes.
Easily, yeah.
So, we have all these new widgets, and I think these widgets are kind of fitting specific I'm going to use the term hobbyists, right? Because with every hobby, you have different levels of your investment, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get, a nice little Sony Handycam that'll get you a nice 720 picture, and then you can move that up into the Canon, and you just keep progressing all the way up until all of a sudden your camera costs more than your first home.
Yeah, or the lens costs more than your first home.
Yeah, because think of first when they first came out with the Beta Deck, right? I mean, that thing was $34,000.
Oh yeah, it was fabulous too.
Yeah, it was amazing, and it was like I told my wife this, and she's like, "Yeah, we're not buying that," because she always thinks everything I ever tell her about. She always thinks that I'm telling her because I want one.
Yeah. Which usually she's usually right.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, so there's different avenues and different levels of the integration. The point I was trying to make with the parishioner of before, they chose him because he had run sound for their the gymnasium. So obviously he was an expert in the industry and could figure out that $35,000 was enough for a 4,000 seat parish. And could you do that today? No. You couldn't do it back then. You can't do it today. I mean, you're talking about a front of house mix board that's going to cost you more than that.
Right. I do want to go back and address Tim's root question, though, and that is how do you become successful in the house of worship market as an AV integrator?
I forgot the question.
Yeah, I did too. I was getting off tech because I was sitting here reading through the article. I was like, we're talking about new tech, but I don't even see where they were even mentioned in the article. What they're really talking about is all the infrastructure products that we've been discussing, Kevin. But to answer the first question, what I have found with House of Worship is you really have to become a consultative partner with them to be successful in that environment. Your sales cycle is long. It is daunting. And you have to really become a trusted resource before they're going to spend their time and their money with you. It takes a lot of effort to do so. And to Kevin's comment, if you have involvement with those organizations, sometimes it gets you someplace, sometimes it doesn't. It can work against you as well. Because doing business with someone you're close to is not always a good thing, even though you might be the best one to do that work. And I've experienced that firsthand on a couple of different occasions. But House of Worship is very unique. Their needs are unique. And the article even talks about this, that sometimes that production environment is more intense, more complex, and more intricate than even some of your production studios that are producing commercial content. The demands of the live environment are extremely great. And when you're dealing with maybe one full-time person and a bunch of volunteers and trying to put together a quality broadcast with whatever the gear may be, it's going to be a huge challenge.
Yeah.
So anything that we can do as integrators to help make that more seamless for the client.
My thing is this, is when it comes to House of Worship, you have two things. First, yes, you have, most of the time, and yes, there are people who have large churches. Most of the time, though, you're talking about a primary volunteer group. When you start getting into churches that are 2, 3, and 4,000 and above, then yes, you're going to have 1 or 2 full-time people. But most churches are not that big. Michael and I was doing some research for Church Production Magazine, not for them, but about them. And one of the stats they said is there's 300,000 houses of worship in the U.S. That's like their target market. There are not 300,000, 5,000 seat auditoriums. There are not 300,000, 10,000 seats. You're talking about churches that are between 2 and 500 seats. That's the average size, I would say. And I could be wrong about that.
No, that was right.
So when you're talking about that size of a church, you're talking about a 99.9% of the time, you're talking about a volunteer army. And from my perspective, I would say you ingratiate yourself to the volunteers, and you make it as easy for them as possible. And as much as Grass Valley makes a wonderfully beautiful switcher, it's also incredibly confusing because it looks like the Starship. It looks like a spaceship interface with all the buttons and the T-bars and what?
Keep going.
I'm saying you have to make it as easy as possible. I'm not saying go put a TriCaster in, but I'm saying, there's a happy medium in there somewhere, between a broadcast quality switcher that costs $150,000 and a truck in a box.
But I think you're confusing what the article was saying and what I was referring to. 28 input, 40 input switcher is not what every environment needs, right? There's some very nice, Panasonic for a long time had a little 8 input, 8 SDI switcher that was, $4,000? Yes. Beautiful little switcher, right?
It was SDI, but,
But that's a good thing, right?
No, it's not.
Oh, come on. You're still running S-Video, man.
It's not a good thing.
Ooh, that hurts. Yeah. Come on, guys. Let's keep it a fair fight.
Really. So now he's starting to scratch me up here because I've been fighting this battle a long time. I understand exactly what you're saying, but what is more simple than saying camera 1, camera 2 on a push button?
That's true.
What you're talking about is teaching an interface where you got to understand. Okay, so we can get into that whole debate, but really what it comes down to is that even for the smaller churches today, media and production is where they're at. They're striving
and it goes
for
back
that.
to Kevin's point about being a hobbyist.
Yes.
And all of us kind of have at some time in our life wrapped our brain around this concept of what people see at the house, they expect at other places where they live.
Right.
And if you're not there in the house of worship environment, then you're going to be discounted in some way. Whether it's they may not do it consciously, but if you don't have a widescreen projector and it's an HD and this, that, and the other, then you're going to be discounted in some manner. So.
Well, and one of the things that we've talked about extensively is, do you do a subpar 3 camera shoot, or do you spend your money on one really good camera and do your graphic overlays and things like that in post for your web production?
Yeah.
Because you got to hit people where they're at. Our generation is a consumer of, the market that these guys are trying to hit are media consumers. They consume media where they want, how they want, and it's at different levels of quality, right? Well, the higher the quality you can deliver and maintain that latch with that viewer, right, whatever that is, the better off you're going to be in delivering your message.
And see, I would disagree with that. I would say,
but that's the whole premise that we've built this podcast on, right? One of the things that George, help me out here, buddy, that one of the things that people comment us on is the quality of our podcast. It's the audio quality. People like it because it sounds good. It's not, it's not this a bunch of guys on the phone talking about a bunch of boring stuff. It's the content. It's the production quality. It's the technical quality that people like about it, and it's no different than the house of worship.
I think they like it because Kevin's sexy.
It's a good quality.
By the way, guys, being in studio with him is not necessarily a good thing.
Oh, man, I was going to say, I thought it was my good looks and amazing repartee that brought everybody.
Well, I wasn't going to. It is. It
is your good looks.
So anyway,
Michael needs somebody. Michael needs somebody that has less hair than he does. So.
What I'm gonna say is let's take this story and let's put it on the next Howcast and let's hash it out.
All right.
Yeah, let's get Matt Scott and let's hash this one out.
I'm gonna knock you out. You are listening to AV Week. That's Kevin Iselli. Over there across from me with the black eye is Michael Drainer. George Tucker is in New York. He works for World Stage. And Chris Tatton, you can chime in here anytime, dude, because
I was just gonna stay out of the way.
No.
You know, Michael.
Exactly.
Tim's problem is he gets a little shaky and scared when he sees all those buttons and knobs.
Oh man!
Wow.
It's the intimidation factor.
It is.
Oh my!
All right, next story.
What?
Yep.
All right, from Gizmodo, the 7 absolutely worst tech gifts to give this holiday season. The one that I found fascinating was the Google TV. Come on, don't hate on Google TV.
It's terrible.
No, it's not. It's getting better. Ice cream sandwich. It's getting better.
Getting better. Roku all the way.
Really? Down the list real quick, and we'll have you guys. Chris, we'll start with you. A cheap Android tablet, and I think that's kind of synonymous. An iPod Touch, a digital picture frame, a point-and-shoot camera, Google TV, as we say. I don't even know what Beats by Dre is, so I'll just keep it there. And
actually, I'd comment on that one. The Beats by Dre. That's basically the headphone
We knew
line
he would.
put out by Monster.
Mm-hmm. Monster Cable?
Yeah.
Evil.
Well, aren't they now Monster Inc.?
Yeah,
I think so.
And they shortly thereafter started
guy's
suing.
got a pimp segue. That's all I can say.
A monster by any other name is still not a rose, gentlemen.
But I actually own a pair of the earbud Beats, and they're fantastic. So they went off hating on the whole Beats thing for the cans, the regular over the ear type. And those things are fantastic too. I mean, of course, everyone's going to yell at price, and that's what they actually did in one of the articles. But hell, if someone wants to buy me a pair of those, I'll take them.
The thing that I always thought that was weird about Beats by Dre was when HP started advertising laptops with Beats by Dre in them. I was like, really? A laptop with Beats by Dre? What's great? Do you have a speaker that's larger than an inch in diameter, or some sort of great new sound card, or what exactly is new other than the sticker on the front?
Well, they also made a good point to say that, the guy hasn't put out an album in 12 years.
12 years,
yeah.
No, but Eminem has, and, they're buddies, and...
The funny thing about this gift list, right, is that it's sort of like trying to buy clothes for your teenage daughter.
Don't
do it.
Yeah.
Unless you're a tech head yourself, ask or don't buy it. Because I mean, look, the worst gift I ever got tech was the Casio diary. Got it from my first wife.
Wow.
It's cool. And her reasoning was, well, it's got a big manual. You'll love it. Okay, thank you so much.
That's like buying me a
back then,
Salvania
look, we're talking
tablet.
early days here at 93 or so, but still, it's like buying clothes for your teenage daughter or certain types of clothing for your wife. Unless she's in on it, don't do it, people.
I have trained my wife.
Conversely, though,
sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I have trained my wife not to purchase me anything technically related unless she has an exact model number that I have given her to buy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See,
Well, look, with the headphones, my wife bought me
actually-
headphones. I would not go to those Skull Candies or those Monsters. I bought my Sony MDR V6s, baby, which she asked. And I said, this is the model number. Here's the page on so-and-so store to get it.
What I find the best way to do this is, like, if you go to those, electronic stores or wherever you're at, this is how I do it, right? You go up to that product that you want to get or something like that, and you just kind of stare at it for a while. And you get the puppy dog eyes going. And sooner or later, the wife comes by and looks. She says, what are you looking at? And you just kind of go, what? Oh, nothing. And then you just kind of walk away. And then she looks at the box, gets the model number, and that's what you see under the tree.
Can your wife call my wife, please?
Yeah, let's get all three of them together.
Yeah, mine. I tried that with the iPad. I tried that with the new TV. I tried that with an Xbox 360.
Well, see, that's the whole thing, though. In my house, I'm in charge of electronics.
Here's my question for you, then. What is the best gift you've ever received as a tech guy for Christmas or
Worst
birthday?
guest gift.
A Best Buy gift card.
Nice. There you go.
Back, right?
Is that worst or best?
Oh, man.
Yes.
My family used to buy me tons of those things, and I would turn around and sell them to people.
Well, here, since we're talking about the worst gifts, what do you guys think are some of the best gifts?
I still think an iPad is a pretty cool gift, but
Whoa.
Hint, hint, hint.
Easy, bud.
Yes, but which one?
Holster that credit card.
And well, you didn't say how much. Okay, so I'd love a DM system with a TPS 6X. So, hint.
Okay.
Make sure you send him. Make sure you send him the edible arrangement. Okay.
Yes, I was going to say edible flower cookies by design. Here we go.
Yes, cupcakes.
Mr. Tatton.
Oh, it's hard, to determine. I consider myself a geek of all kinds, and I love looking at tech stuff. I'm on Gizmodo at least once a day. And there's so much stuff that I want, but I can't ask for it because it's ridiculously expensive, and I feel bad asking for something that costs so much money. So I think it's hard to find a good tech gift these days. I'm a computer geek down at heart. Maybe a new graphics card is nice.
Well,
yeah, that's reasonable though.
Yeah, let me ask something though, because we're
Not
all
for the ones I
roughly
want.
of the same age. Have we gotten to the point where I've got stuff that I want or that I need? When it comes to technology, though, I don't want anybody purchasing it for me.
That's
if
like
I want it, I'm going to get it.
No, I'd rather them purchase it for me. I just want to give them the model number, like George said, right?
But the stuff is,
it's like,
back to
you want
Chris's
to buy
point, the stuff that I want though is a minimum $200, $300.
Oh, you want to buy me a Lexicon MC12 for $12,000? Sure, I'll take that.
Right.
Make sure you get the one with the white faceplate, right? Yeah. Kaleidoscape for $76,000.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll take that.
Fresh from size, please. Thanks.
Yeah, it's one thing to buy tech gifts for the non.
Awesome.
Nice. It's one thing to buy tech gifts for the non-tech savvy and for the non-geeks. It's another thing to buy tech gifts for guys like us that we're just picky. I tried to buy my wife a purse one year, and that was the biggest mistake I ever made.
Oh, why did you do
I got
that?
down.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a big mistake. So and likewise, she doesn't buy me electronics anymore. So, it's just the way it goes. But I do have to say, my favorite one on here was the 4G phone.
Well, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but he says,
hey,
hang on for a second.
Hey, by the way, thanks for the $540 yearly bill.
he says this from not only from that, but Michael and I live in St. Louis. There is no 4G here.
Well, there is. There's 4G across the river in St. Louis.
In St. Louis.
But we live on the Illinois side of the river, and it stops right at the bridge.
Yeah, I mean, George is in New York. Kevin's up in Chicago. Chris, I don't know if there's 4G where you are, but
Absolutely there is.
See, so I mean,
well, Kevin's been here. He knows we're in Hoduck town.
Kevin's GPS says I don't know where you are when he hits Alton.
No. As soon as I cross the river, it just gives me a screen that says "Good luck."
That's it.
One big star, Fast Eddie's Bon Air.
It says turn left at the cow and go 10 miles.
Real quick, and I'm not going to pick on George, but you mentioned the Roku. I said Google TV I think is cool. I'm going to challenge you on something because I like the Roku, but Michael turned me on to the Western Digital.
Awesome.
I like the Western Digital.
Love it.
I love the Western
Digital.
Digital.
Let's hash this out a bit. Let's do some tit-a-tat. I like the Western Digital over the Roku. For a number of reasons, it's easier. The interface is easier. My 5-year-old already has it down. The Western Digital. She can turn it on. She can go find Netflix. She can go find her movies that are on the hard drive. Everything about it, I think, is cool. And they've integrated Hulu Plus now. If that's your deal, they've got YouTube on there. The whole bit. Pandora. So give me some pushback when it comes to Roku. Why should I do that over Western Digital?
They're a small startup. I like shopping local. How about that?
Nice.
You know what? If you had a little old tinker in the basement making Rokus, yes, I could buy the whole buy digital thing or buy local thing.
I mean,
it's just
where are you going to find that device that actually will sync and store its DLNA? You can actually search for other media centers on your network, as well as it can copy local, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got a terabit drive built into it if you have the TV Live Plus, right?
Yes.
Or TV Live Hub, sorry. Yep. And it's $200.
Well, and that's the plus one, the hub.
And
for $100 you can get the live.
Yeah, I paid.
Well, yeah. Here's the best part about it. I have the IP control module for it. So it's yeah.
Says the Crestron guy.
Yeah, there you go.
So that thing's buried in my basement in my rack, and I route it through my house. Right? It's awesome.
Through DM, no less.
This does sort of segue though into that article. Is the TV's not broke? Why fix it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we're all sort of circling that. I read this article, and my first response was to quote the late Harry Morgan and go, "Horse hockey."
Yeah.
Because the article basically states there's nothing wrong with TV. Most of us just want to be stupid and sit in front of whatever it presents to us and vegetate. Mm-hmm. And this is from Business Insider. I mean, if it wasn't from Business Insider, I would have thought it was some cable TV lobbying white paper. Because Business Insider doesn't tend to be very nice to those guys in general. But you guys are saying the same thing I am. I want to be a cord cutter. The only reason I don't cut the cord right now is because I don't want to buy the NHL package online, and I want to watch my New York Rangers. But otherwise, I want to get rid of it completely and just watch it on my Google TV, my Western Digital box. I'd rather find that media and set it up for myself.
I would too, but to supplement your comment, George, I'm with you. I would love to do nothing more than just that because, if you're okay, I'm not going to say who the companies are. Of course, we know who all the providers are.
Yeah.
If you're dealing with the providers, what incentive do you have to use their service? Because you get to watch all the commercials. But see, now to me, the whole thing with these other streaming things, Hulu Plus even, and you still have to watch the damn commercials, pardon my French, but you still have these commercials. I'm like, okay, if we really want to fix TV, let's get rid of advertisements. Or I got it better yet. Let's make an advertisement streaming channel, right? If that's all you want to do on TV. Because
you mean you don't stay up at 3 o'clock in the morning watching infomercials?
Well, but see, here's the thing, though, there's a social trade-off that we've conditioned ourselves over the last 50, 60 years is we Americans don't pay for content. Let's start with that because our social contract says that we'll sit through a minute, maybe 2 minutes worth of commercials. I get it. I'm being advertised to, and then I get to watch my content.
Yeah, that's where the skip button comes in.
That's my whole thing here, though. I love my DVR, right?
But Tim is right, though. We've made this social contract.
Yes.
But there's a way around it, actually. And yes, I agree. The ads are annoying, and I skip them all the time, too, despite what I've just said. But if you get to know the writer Kevin Kelly, he was the creator of the Whole Earth catalog and one of the original editors at Wired. He has pushed forward this idea of the 1,000 true fans. Are you familiar with it?
I've heard of it.
It's the concept of how many fans do you need as a performer, content provider, whatever, in order to make money to live on? The idea is this seminal number of 1,000 true fans who pay X amount of dollars a year to you, and you can make your money and make your content. Now, it's a little more dicey when you're doing TV shows, of course, because you've got to have more money for the actors and the equipment. But still, there's a model there. I mean, I'm sure it's what they use to sell advertising, but you can do this content where they do it right to you. I know there's a bunch of channels out there that do this. That all they are doing is saying, "Guys, send me a few bucks, and we'll produce content."
Well, and there are mechanisms. Kickstarter is a popular website, and I gave $25 to a firefighter film that Dennis Leary was promoting because I like Dennis Leary. I like Rescue Me. He got involved in this whole thing, and it's $25. It was $25. It was no big deal, but there was 10,000 of me that helped them get this project off the ground. They made it. They didn't charge my credit card until they met their goal. They met their goal. Charged my credit card $25. I think I get an MP3 and a ringtone from Dennis Leary saying I'm sort of something profane, but it's Dennis Leary. But it's a unique. It's kind of that thing though. It's 1,000 true fans saying yes, I think your project is worthwhile. Here's $5-10. But you get enough of those people, and you can do your thing.
Mm-hmm. And can this model be extrapolated into a larger form? I think it probably could,
Mm-hmm.
but that's the only other answer though, because we're having this argument of, no, I don't want TV because it forces me to watch commercials, but who's paying for the content? So we are getting to this model that they've been trying to push for a long time. I mean, Microsoft wanted you in the 90s and the 80s to pay for an online version of Word, right? And we all went, how dare you? I want my stuff on my computer. And where are we now? We're paying a cloud service in some way or form to store our stuff and use their tools online rather than have it on a local computer. And we think it's great.
No,
we just have to deal with the ads on the left and right side.
We're all open, standards open.
And
I'm sorry,
more
Chris, I didn't hear
importantly
that.
to the point, Michael, we are all coin operated.
We are. Absolutely we are. There's no question about that.
You are listening to AVWeek. Kevin Iselli, Chris Tatton, George Tucker, and Michael Drainer.
Don't forget about you.
I am nobody, so I'm the voice behind the curtain.
I don't mean anything.
I don't mean
Okay, who opened the curtain?
Well, Toto did, actually.
Not the artist either.
Wow. You are the king of non sequiturs this week.
I just take them out of nowhere, man.
You do. For Mashable, this is from the New York Times R&D lab, and if you didn't know, New York Times does have like a little lab where they develop things and say, hey, wouldn't this be cool? It's a mirror that shows you your weather and, TV and this, that, and the other. my first thought, if you are familiar with the movie Total Recall, this is the screen that Arnold Schwarzenegger was watching in the morning when he was eating breakfast in that movie. But that's basically what it is. It's a computer that shows you a mirror and also shows you weather and news and sports and this, that, and the other. I think it's cool. George, do you think this is like the next best thing, or is just this is the NYT just kind of playing around with money?
Oh no, I think it's absolutely plausible, and I'm actually shocked that it isn't a viable product already. I mean, that was my first reaction. Was like, what, you mean there really isn't one yet? I mean, I know that a certain manufacturer's product that's large enough and glossy enough that you could use it as a mirror, but this may threaten that kind of line, a certain manufacturer. But I like the idea a lot because I tell you, I listen to the news and to the BBC early in the morning and stuff like that, and I'd love to be able to have that in one place where I can move it around, see the links, do that while I'm shaving. I think that might be akin to doing texting while driving, but
Well, that's not to interject. I read this article the other day, and while I was shaving, while I was shaving this morning, I actually thought about this article, and how it would work for me, and it just didn't seem to work for me. I don't know how I feel about holding a razor against my face and then trying to read the news at the same time. I mean, the human eye doesn't exactly have the greatest depth of field, so I don't know how I'm supposed to, focus, on the sharp steel against my face and something half of that focal length away. I think it's cool
what are you talking about? Don't you do it in the car?
What, text and drive? No.
Text and drive. All right. You got the electric razor going.
Maybe email.
You're drinking your latte.
You know what?
And
This is
having
the
a piece
last
of
time I'm
pizza?
riding with you, Kevin.
While driving a stick shift.
Yes.
But I think it's cool for things like having the weather for the day and stuff like that up there, and but I just don't know how I feel about trying to read news articles while I'm in front of the mirror. It just doesn't seem to work for me. And the whole gesture control thing, I know it's been discussed before, but I don't want to feel like I'm doing the robot in my bathroom.
Yes, but you will be eventually. Either that or
come
talking
on.
to it.
Everything has to be gestures. Even TV commercials have gestures on them.
I got a gesture for it.
Hey, this is a clean podcast.
It's a really cool proof of technology type thing. Like, look what we can do with this mirror and put these overlays on it. Just that I think the applications that they picked just weren't really that interesting.
I'm question.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm going to ask two questions, and then you guys can.
No, you're limited to one, please.
Here's two questions. One, for those of you who know what I look like and have seen me in person, do you think I really want to stand in front of a mirror and do that? Because number one, I avoid mirrors like vampires avoid sunlight.
That's all right. I think they avoid you too.
Yeah. And secondly, if this is a mirror thing, and you get the whole sitting down and having breakfast, where are you going to put a mirror in your kitchen?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's
well.
funny.
But I mean, we said the same thing about the multi-touch for a table, and people are starting to implement this very quickly. And I'll make a prediction here: just like the multi-touch table started at NYU as an experiment and quickly became a product, I think this one has some legs. Because I got to tell you, I don't have a problem shaving like that, and I use a blade. And with the bald head, it's all feel anyway. You get to the point where you're doing the back of the head, it's all feel.
Yeah.
So. I'm happy to be able to look at it while I'm shaving, going, there's the stocks, and there's my numbers, and there's the zip, the little news going by.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe for the 2.5 minutes I'm brushing my teeth, then it makes sense, but I already have devices that can deliver all the content that I need. I don't need... And heaven forbid that thing takes my brushing my teeth motion as some sort of odd gesture and displays something who knows what.
Well, the gesture I'm with you on. I'm with you on the gesture, buddy.
Yeah. Can you imagine what that gesture would translate to?
No, I don't.
No, we don't want to either.
This is a clean show.
You know what, though? This is not that far-fetched, though. And I'm kind of with George on this one. I think this is something that is going to become a mainstream product. I don't know about all the interactivity, but, 4 or 5 years ago when I was working for the broadcast group, we did this for our CEO. We actually put an LCD display behind a two-way mirror in his bathroom so he could watch his stocks, his news, and all that stuff while he's shaving, brushing his teeth. So, there are other people that have done things like that. It's not that much different. All they're doing is adding the interactivity element to it.
Okay,
I say wow because I was going to say, Michael, the 80s call, they want their technology back. No, I asked the two questions.
Max Power came through.
Yeah, exactly. Max Headroom, right?
Yeah.
I will make a comment, though. This seems like it's a new article, but for at least, I want to say at least the past 8 months, they've had in... for those of you who haven't been here, of course, at O'Hare Airport in the American Airlines terminal, a lot of the restrooms, the mirrors are actually display boards with motion sensors that when you walk up, the commercial goes to a small window in the corner and the rest is a mirror surface. Yep. And when you break that motion capture, I'm sorry, not motion capture, but when you break that sensor, the ad goes full screen again. So it's like, yeah, okay, now we're just adding a little interactivity to it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Very cool. It's the future.
It still won't make me a latte.
No, but it'll make you cut your face.
That's because you didn't make the right gesture.
What would be the gesture for latte? A little swirly.
Yeah, you got to like swirl it down or something. Yeah.
You have to make the steaming milk sound too.
Yes.
Yeah, you gotta...
Yep. And then tie into your Keurig in the other room, and there you go.
Oh, goodness. This has been AV Week.
Despite what you
a very
otherwise.
demented AV Week.
Yeah, I don't know where did we go wrong? I know, 3, 2, 1. That's where I went wrong. Michael Drainer's across from me. He is the system manager for Sound AV for Tech Electronics. What would you like to promote, sir? Your blog, your Twitter, what?
You can find me at michaeldrainer.com. Also at Michael Drainer. Was that my crowd going crazy?
That was the latte.
Oh, gotcha.
Sorry, that was me. That
at
was
Michael
I'm in a
Drainer.
warehouse.
And then you'll always find me somewhere on the AV Nation site as well.
George Tucker is the engineering coordinator for World Stage. George's is tucker2s.typepad.com.
Yeah, I haven't gotten around to doing my own domain. I'm a little lazy.
Is that it? Did I get it right?
Yes, you got it.
There we go.
You got it.
He's also at Tucker2s on
I'm
Twitter.
also on worldstage.squarespace.com, soon to be...
Worldstage.com?
Mm-hmm.
All right, very good.
We have our own blog now.
And George has recently started a new podcast called DIY. Check it out. It landed today. So check that out on the AVNation website.
Thank you very much for that.
Chris Tatton, hopefully you'll come back even though, in spite of this show. He's a senior systems programmer for HB Communications. Thank you so much. So do you have a Twitter or a blog or something you'd like to...
I do have a newly minted Twitter account, Chris_Tatton, Tatton.
Tatton. Think of tattoo. It's not Taton, it's Tatton. Tatton.
Exactly.
There we go.
What the hell are you talking about?
Well, never mind. And that would be Kevin Iselli, my buddy from Crestron.
Who needs no introduction.
Who needs and
it's
deserves.
It's actually Wobbler Mangrove.
You don't have a Twitter that you use. I guess you could go to Crestron.com and look him up. He's in the Midwest, but he's all over because he is the senior curriculum developer.
Meaning I'm old.
You're not old. You're the same age as I am.
Thus old.
Oh, shut up.
You're just in the denial phase.
Oh, my. Actually, this is a stupid story. I teach. I'm an adjunct teacher here at Lewis and Clark, and for the first time in my teaching career, I had a student inform me that she was born the same year I graduated high school.
Didn't you just want to punch her in the face?
Yes. It's like, oh, goodness. Okay, I'll go bye-bye now. That would be Tim Albright. You can find me on Twitter if you'd like. D as in David Albright, ALBRIGHT. But more importantly, please go by the website, avnation.tv. avnation.tv. We have 2 brand spanking new podcasts in addition to this one. One is called Howcast. The other one is the DIY show. And in about 2 weeks, we will have another one, a staging show that's also from the mind of George Tucker. So... check that out.
Be very afraid.
Very afraid, yeah.
It's a scary, scary place.
It is kind of scary.
You should know, brother.
But check it out, avnation.tv. We have a survey there, so you can tell us what we do right, what we do wrong. It's just a way for us to make the website and also the podcast better. So check that out, avnation.tv. Thank you very much for listening. That's all the time we have for AV Week.